The Mets make two free agent signings in the last couple of days. What do these moves tell us about where the team is going? And well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm WA2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. Reminder, we go live every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Come by, join the fun. We always have a fantastic time together. You don't want to miss it. And also, we are just 3 subscribers away from 800. We're getting so close. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do so. Want to cross over that 800 milestone. All right, enough of that. Let's get on to the content today. And I want to talk a little New York Mets baseball. You know, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of Mets fans very, very down on this team. And after the very unfulfilled expectations of 2023, it makes sense. You know, bringing in a new vice president of baseball operations in David Stearns, a new manager in Carlos Mendoza, you know, and also seeing the continued dominance of the Atlanta Braves, the continued playoff runs that the Philadelphia Phillies have made each of the last 2 years. You know, Mets fans feel, you know, a long way behind these two teams, and they're wondering how they're going to compete. So Mets fans were looking at, we got to get some marquee players in here if that's going to happen. Well, if we look at some of the moves the Mets have made, particularly these last two, we can kind of see where things are really going here and what David Stearns is planning to do, at least in the short term. So let's take a look at both of the signings that the Mets have made in recent days. First of all, signing Harrison Bader to play in the outfield to a 1-year, $10.5 million contract. This was a signing I was very much in favor of from the beginning of the offseason. You know, 29 years old. In 2023, hit .232, 7 home runs, 40 RBIs, started his season with the Yankees before being traded to the Reds. I don't care where the player came from. I don't care if he played with the Yankees, with the Braves, with some random Japanese team. I don't care where they played. You know, so, you know, these Yankees fans trying to troll the Mets talking about, well, they're just taking the Yankees leftovers. Hey, the Yankees didn't want him, the Mets took him. I mean, you know, big deal. You know, but Bader is a defensive-first center fielder. And I felt like for a long time, the Mets have really not had great defense. It was pretty good in 2022, but, you know, David Stearns is very big on run prevention, and that's not just pitching, it's defense as well. Now, Bader placed in the 95th percentile in outs above average. Now, outs above average, basically it's a measurement of all the individual plays a fielder has been credited with, so it's kind of like a range-based metric of fielding skill, and it also accounts for the difficulty of those plays. So with the abouts above average, he is actually the best outfielder in baseball, is Harrison Bader, from 2018 to 2023. Better than Kevin Kiermaier, Manuel Margot, Lorenzo Cain, you name the outfielder, Bader is the best that there is. Also, he has a very good arm in terms of both strength and accuracy per StatCast. Very good base runner as well. He'll bring you speed. He stole 20 bases on 23 attempts last year, and that was in 98 games. Now, not going to be a great hitter over his career, hitting just .243. He did hit double-digit home runs in 2018, 2019, and 2021. So there's a modicum of power there. That's what we'll call it. But the biggest issue with Bader is his injury history. Most recently, it was a groin strain. That put him on the injured list after being acquired by the Reds last August. And then he began 2023 with a strained oblique as well, though he did appear in 84 games for the Yankees. So where does he really fit? You know, some people are looking at Bader as he's going to be a starter. Some are looking at him as a fourth outfielder. My guess is Brandonnimmo will be moving over to the left field the majority of the time, but he can return to center field if needed, if Bader's bat goes to hell or if he does get hurt. But right now, the ideal starting outfield for the Mets with what they have is Brandonnimmo in left, Harrison Bader in center field, Starling Marte in right field, with DJ Stewart and either Tyrone Taylor or Tace Thompson as your backups. Okay, and you know what, Jeff McNeil can still fill in the outfield if needed, but it does leave an opportunity for one of the kids like Luis Angel Acuna or Drew Gilbert to step in if they are ready later in 2024, and you will need some depth since Harrison Bader is an injury risk. But paying him $10.5 million, you know, for 1 year, absolutely on board with 1 year. But $10.5 million is, you know, that's starter money to me. I like the contract. I like the defense, the speed, the aggressive style. His teammates love him. You know, the move makes sense to me to bring in Harrison Bader. It can't be the only bat that they get. They still need another bat in my mind, and I'll get into that in a moment. But as far as Sean Manaea goes, so the Mets, I woke up this morning, actually, to the news that the Mets had signed Manaea to a 2-year contract for $28 million with a player opt-out after the first year, after 2024. Now, Manaea was a pitcher I kind of had in that next tier of starters after Jordan Montgomery, after Shota Imanaga, and after Blake Snell as well. Manaea I had lumped with guys like Michael Lorenzen and James Paxton, you know, guys like that. So who is Sean Manaea? Well, he's got great hair, first of all. He's got some good long flowing locks, but that aside. He will turn 32 in February. He was a first-round pick by Kansas City back in 2013, was traded to the A's in 2015 for Ben Zobrist, made his big league debut in 2016, had a good rookie year with 3.86 ERA, and for the next few years, he provided some good, consistent rotation dependability for Oakland. Never the ace of the staff necessarily, but sort of like that middle of the rotation pitcher. Unfortunately, in 2018, his career got interrupted. He needed shoulder surgery. He missed almost all of 2019, and he missed a lot of 2020 as well. But then he started to make a little bit of a comeback. In 2021, he made 32 starts for the A's. He even pitched 2 complete game shutouts during that season. 2021 was a great year for him. Then he made 30 starts for the Padres in 2022 and 10 for the Giants in 2023. Now, focusing on that last season with the Giants. So he really struggled out of the gate in San Francisco with a 7.96 ERA through 8 starts. That is horrific, and he had to be relegated to the bullpen. But from then on, you know, that may have been the wake-up call that he needed. After he was sent, you know, relegated to the bullpen, he put up a 3.44 ERA while striking out 9.5 batters per 9 innings, and he wound up rejoining the rotation. Now, if you look at his last 4 starts, September was really, really good for him. He had a 2.25 ERA over those 24 innings. And here's the other thing that I find to be very promising. In September, he was throwing harder than he ever had in his career. You know, averaging 93.6 miles an hour on his fastball. That's 2 ticks higher than in 2022. So maybe he figured something out mechanically that is allowing him to get more velocity, and that's helping him to become a better pitcher, and that's what the Mets are betting on. Obviously, the Mets are now his 4th team in 4 seasons. But for his career, Manaea's ERA is 4.10. His whip is 1.22. Middle of the rotation starting pitcher. He's going to eat innings. He'll probably have some periods of looking really, really good, but he'll have periods of struggling. Now, I'm not the type who likes to say, well, this is your 1 starter, this is your 5 starter. Let's think about that. The only time we really assign numbers to starting pitchers, there's 2 times. The offseason and the playoffs. Okay, so once everything starts, you just want good, reliable pitchers. That's what it really comes down to. It's not what number is the starting pitcher, is how many reliable starting pitchers do you have in your rotation. And Manaea could be one of those starting pitchers for sure. Now, I would personally like one more starting pitcher. We all know you can never have enough depth. But still, if you were to give me Shota Imanaga or Jordan Montgomery to go with Senga, Quintana, Manaea, Severino, and Adrianhouser, then you have McGill and Lucchesi as fill-ins, that's a pretty good deep rotation. I'm not going to say it's an elite rotation necessarily, but that can be enough if you have a good bullpen, which the Mets don't have until you get to Edwin Diaz. But here's the most important thing with the rotation. Adrianhouser, Jose Quintana, Luis Severino are all free agents after 2024. And Manaea, if he exercises his opt-out, it's a player option, not a club option, he can be a free agent as well. And then all you have under contract is Kodaisenga. I really think the Mets should have another starting pitcher who will be here for at least 2 years under contract. Because even when you look into the minor leagues, the Mets have a lot more hitters. I think their top 9 ranked prospects all position players. Now, there are a few pitchers like Dominic Hamill, Mike Vassell, Christian Scott. We'll see if one of them can step up if needed. But as far as what the Mets need to be a playoff contender, there are still two absolute musts. Absolute musts. I mean, a starting pitcher, I would like to have one more. I'm not going to say they need one. If they have to get by with those 5 pitchers, okay. But they need an 8th inning relief pitcher. Think Robert Stevenson or Phil Maton or Ryan Stanek, who I really, really like from Houston. He had an ERA in the 1s in 2022. David Robertson as well. You know, I think Josh Hader and Jordan Hicks, they're going to command too many years and dollars. The Mets really, outside of Diaz, you know, the closer is different. But as far as a setup pitcher, the Mets really, I don't think they're ever going to go more than 2 years for a relief pitcher. And I think they're going to be hard-pressed to go past 1 year, as a matter of fact. But I really think, you know, outside of Diaz, what do you have? Brooks Raley, Jorge Lopez, Drew Smith. You need that bridge to Edwin Diaz, particularly if you don't have dominant starting pitching, which I don't think the Mets necessarily do. So an 8th inning reliever, and they need one more bat that has some power. Designated hitter would be great if they could play some third base to help platoon with Brett Beatty. Like a Justin Turner, that would be a bonus. Jorge Soler would be great. JD would intrigue me as well. Maybe it will be DJ Stewart and Mark Vientos platooning at the DH spot. But I really think this lineup is definitely one bat away. But I will say, Starling Marte is playing in winter ball, and we've seen, ever since Marte first got hurt in September of 22, the Mets lineup was never the same again. So in a way, if you do have a healthy Starling Marte, you really are making a serious upgrade to the lineup, and maybe that's what the Mets are looking at. But I would like to see those two things happen, and then I'll pretty much take my chances with what's left. Well, those are my thoughts on where the New York Mets are, and those are my thoughts on Harrison Bader and Sean Manaea. Let me see your thoughts. Put them right down there in the comments. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.